Welcome to the Nausea River podcast. I'm Theo Morgan, and I know what it's like to have the furthest drive to Boston. Or if you're truly me, you start to recognize the keyless operators from the MBTA by face. Being able to use the commuter rail makes me a fake Western masshole, but to some, Fitchburg might as well be in the Berkshires. The point is, I'm often a little alone and having to travel so far for shows and socializing, but very used to it all the same. And for the rare traveler from Central or Western Mass in the same room as me, we have something easy to bond over. I have several of those stories, but travel back to an evening in Quincy under someone's deck. The sun wasn't shining at all, and you have to be a special kind of lame to be early for a basement show you're not even performing in. Like, I was there before half the bands even were. In some way, living far away from the action makes you very sensitive to the time. So who else would be there early besides my neighbors in the boonies?
All right, so start with introductions. Who are you guys?
Well, I'm Will, and I'm doing guitars, bass, and some vocals on that album of Hexrot.
Yeah, we are the band Hexrot.
Yeah.
I am Evan, or Melmoth, as I am known in the metal nomenclature. I am primarily the drummer, also doing a lot of the vocals and electronic synthy elements as well on our recent album, Formless Ruin of Oblivion.
Cool.
Meet Will Byler and Evan Moore from Hexrot, a progressive death metal band from Western Mass. They gave me zero indication for what they sounded like, but regardless, we quickly bonded over our shared origins and tastes in music. Less about metal and more about giving Evan updates on what bands the Flenser currently signs. It was May, so naturally I had a lot to say about the new planning for Burial and Pyramids releases. We were all familiar with Sorrento's Pizza, too. It seems like a really common name for pizza shops to use, but I think we were all talking about locations with the same owner. Anyways, the location near me makes really good New York-style pizza. Their set was good, by the way. Evan and Will are the entirety of Hexrot, both in the studio and on stage. Some clever arrangements and backing tracks helped out, and it didn't feel very obvious despite knowing who was doing what on stage. And the best part about Hexrot, for me anyways, is that they're 90% proggy, dissonant death metal, but they're the bones of math rock and screamo waiting to be dug up. And I'll be an elitist pig for other things, but I fuck with some Page 99. By the time this episode gets released, Formless Ruin of Oblivion will be out for purchase and streaming. 35 minutes of new material plus everything from the Gloomrot EP. My praises for their set extend to the album. It's avant-garde without feeling too off the wall and downright evil sounding in a way that no finished suburban basement can be. Also, just to get it out of the way, Colin Marston of Krallis did the mastering for it. I only bring it up because the comparisons to Gorgut and an alternate universe death metal Krallis are really easy to make. And a touch of Piron, who also have Marston's fingerprints all over their work. But don't take my word for it. Here's a funny Theo anecdote instead. I was in the middle of editing this episode when my boyfriend messaged me about this cool new death metal album that just dropped. And of course it was Formless Ruin of Oblivion by Hexrot. It's still a very fresh relationship for us, so I'm not giving him inside info about podcast episodes yet. Or maybe I do, and I just forgot. Anyways, he was immediately hooked and bought merch without me telling him he had to. There are definitely other bands I think he's warming up to just to impress me, but the Hexrot hype is real. It's organic. I hope I got on the train early enough too, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.
All right, so I always have everyone start with their origins, how their band or even just your life as a musician came to be.
Oh, well, we have a pretty good, I don't know, meet cute, if we will. I mean, we met in college, so like 12 years ago. And I think Evan was going to play drums for a metal band I had at the time, and then also had a hardcore band, and our bands played shows together. And then, what was it, like 2021 that we reconnected at a concert, or?
Yeah, pretty much right after COVID. We've known each other for a while. I think, kind of coming from non-metal backgrounds primarily, or at least, I was doing kind of like screamo stuff at the time. With the long lineage of great bands in that genre from Amherst, where I am still currently actually, but I also was for college. Will was doing most like softer stuff up until that point, getting into metal. And so our bands just happened to play a show together. I knew them from the math rock sphere actually. So I was sort of aware of Will and some of the folks he was playing with, and I was like, these guys are awesome musicians. They seem cool. Um, we just happened to have that opportunity to sort of coalesce at that show, and then the rest is history, I guess. Yeah, we're still playing together all these years later, so very good happenstance.
Yeah, yeah. Evan and I and our buddy Luke put out like a math rock instrumental album. I think like we released it during COVID. We were kind of sitting on it for a couple years and then put it out there. And then yeah, 2021, I was playing in like sort of a sludge stoner metal band, and it was all outdoors. Like the only time we could get together for a concert was this like afternoon show in the middle of the day in Greenfield, and Evan showed up, and then we started borrowing my friend's space out in Irving, Mass, and just started writing the stuff that would end up being on the Gloomrod EP. Without really a destination in mind for like what the band would sound like. We really had no idea. Just like these like shitty phone recordings like over the course of a year and a half. So hearing it for the first time in the studio was sort of like a wild experience, and definitely like helped us learn and shape how things would go for the Formless Ruin of Oblivion, the second album that we're releasing this week. So
Cool. Just out of curiosity, what were your other bands named? Because you said you were in a sludge band, and Evan said he was in a screamo band.
yeah, go for it, man. Your band is
Absolutely.
bigger.
Sure, yeah. So my screamo band was called Sleeper Wave. We were
Hmm.
doing kind of a mathy, very vaguely jazz adjacent thing, like bands like Seisha and Off Minor.
Hmm.
So that was yeah around I don't know 2010 to 2016-ish era. And our math rock band was called Stunt Meridian.
Hmm.
We put out one release a while ago, like Will said. Our guitar player moved. Will was playing bass at the time, which is maybe also worth mentioning. Will's playing
Hmm.
guitar these days. I'm still playing with Luke, who was a guitarist in that band, a little bit as well. So, um, and Will, Will had a metal
Yeah,
band
I
as
had
well.
like my first foray into metal was like I think like 2015, 2016. That same guy, Luke, the guitarist, was playing drums. It's a very sort of tight-knit, incestuous type of musical friend group thing that we got
Hmm.
going. And yeah, Luke was playing drums, and we had a singer Miranda, and it was just the three of us mainly. And it was like kind of I guess just like stoner metal. It was a lot of like high on fire type riffs, just kind of trying to steal a lot of ideas. That was like, it was a little bit bluesier, a little bit like slower. But that sort of like helped like cut my teeth, I guess, into like switching into the metal genre as a
Hmm.
whole, coming from sort of just like a progressive or math rock background. Yeah, that was great. Yeah. And then the band I was playing with at the time when Evan and I kind of reconnected was this band called Ram Lamb, and we still play sometimes. We're out in Greenfield. I'm still really close with those guys, but few and far between.
Cool. And since you name dropped a lot of Western Mass locations, I have questions about being based out in Western Mass, even more west than I am. So just broadly to get us started, what's it like having a band out there? Because you don't have as many spaces that are going to book you. You don't have a dense worth of fans or potential fans.
That is true. I mean, it's all I've ever known, pretty much. So I like can't really compare it to anything. Evan, did you play in a band outside of Western Mass, or is that sort of like
Uh,
your origins as well?
Yeah, I guess I don't have a great deal to comment, like comparing it to, what it'd be like to be a band in a bigger city. But I think where we have an interesting perspective is just, I think being in the same scene so long, the scene's not, or the scene is changing less, but, kind of you're changing at the same time, specifically getting older. And so, Western Mass, there's a lot of the music scene is tied to kind of continuing education in colleges, or at least just the fact that there's a lot of young people around that are just brought into that sort of area. And so it's been interesting for both Will and I to have been going to school in the area, or just otherwise sort of interacting with kind of that underground um, perspective, and lots of the DIY scene of people in their early 20s. Now we're both getting older ourselves and sort of in some ways feel like on the outside looking in, but I think it's also a lot of the those sort of differences are more mental than anything. And, there's nothing stopping you. There's still great
hmm
collaborations and partnerships and things, that sort of transcend age. And there's still honestly lots of cool stuff going on.
hmm
I think, COVID it's kind of hit it as you would expect, and so there was a little bit of a rebuild. But I think it's in a good spot right now. There's lots of even like heavier bands. That's sort of maybe the other thing is being like a death metal band. There's not necessarily like a ton of that out here, but there's hardcore, there's screamo stuff. There's bands we can feel comfortable bringing on to shows that are doing something at least like in the same lane as us. And lots of other just interesting artists doing cool stuff I heard here too that kind of keeps us inspired and confident about sticking around and doing our thing out here.
hmm
And what's really
So,
cool too is like a lot of those people we have known for 10 or 15 years now, like the time as since college, and you know they have stayed out here as well. And so to see like other people in the community, their progression as musicians and as bands, and the sort of exploration of genre that continues is like from just like a music fan is really awesome. So to reconnect with those folks now in this sort of different, heavier context is really, really sweet.
cool. Just before I continue, I met you two at a live performance you did out in Quincy. Do you perform live that often? Because I know that you have to reckon with playing music that probably should have had four or five performers between the two of
Yeah.
you. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so was that just a one-off, or do you actually like play live sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time that we had played, I think, as Hexrot, like with our
Okay.
name and with some music out there. We've played one other time since then, and there's some things on the horizon, but it really did just start as a studio project. Like there
hmm
wasn't as much intention to play live. Kind of like we said, sort of like with the echoes of COVID, sort of like at the inception of our band. But then also I think just like, Evan mentioned the sort of like mental block of like feeling a bit older or like,
hmm
a little bit out of touch with the local scene, at least on my end.
hmm
And just, life taking you in different directions. So there are definitely plans to play again at some point. We feel like we kind of revamp our set and we want to do something new and different each kind of, almost every
hmm
time we play, give or take. But Evan can definitely speak to the sort of difficulty we've had translating this thing into just from, into a two-piece, which has been pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a leap of faith, I guess. You're sort of recognizing they're sort of two different experiences. I wouldn't say they're fundamentally different because we're still playing the same songs and everything, but there's kind of less going on. I mean, I think the music is kind of busy enough, and I think it's still compelling enough as a a duo performance if we're tight and we're sort of doing vocals over it and maybe working in some extra elements like interludes or things of that nature to sort of try to get that experience we're going for on the album. But yeah, there's no bass, there's no guitar overdubs. The vocals we can perform in a live setting are necessarily just a little limited because we're sort of also really trying to push ourselves musically. So yeah, all that being said, it's super fun. I know both of us have played a lot more shows with previous projects in the past,
hmm
but life has also taken us different ways. We're working 9 to 5 jobs. We have families or things, responsibilities of that nature that make it harder to coordinate playing out. But yeah, it's something we're very interested in doing, especially with our album dropping soon. Hopefully some sort of released show or celebration thing. And yeah, it's also just a great opportunity to network and network makes it sound like it's like a corporate event. Rather, maybe just more like, meet cool people like yourself, meet other bands, meet fans. I mean, yeah, so there's a lot of great things there. And just when you're holed up in the practice space for sometimes months at a time and no one else is hearing it except us two, it's good to also get just be able to share that with others too. So yeah.
Yeah, that was hard. Like, we didn't have any like feedback from the music we made for like 2 or 3 years until we released and put out that first EP. I mean, we couldn't even really hear it in an objective way. Um, And then also with like, yeah, playing shows and stuff, like I go to bed super early. I get anxious being out late. Like I'm not, I'm 31. I'm tired and worn out and, I get worried like being out late. So that's definitely limiting too. Like the thought of like doing a tour or, spending a night out in Boston or New York City or something like it feels daunting, but it definitely feels like a hurdle that we should get over, or I should get over, I should say. But
Yeah.
you're better at the late nights, Evan, than I am.
Guilty,
No
yeah.
pressure to any of you. But I guess since you all have a history of being in other bands, the direction I wanted to go in was wondering like who books like heavier or less, at least like less crowd pleasing music out in Western Mass, and where do you play such things? Because like I think about it and I'm like, what's like, is there an equivalent to something like, the Middle East or Ralph's out there? And maybe not, at least not in terms of capacity or uh, reputation, but
There's a
Uh,
couple of like good house venues, especially for like
Mhm,
experimental noise like projects too. And so,
mhm,
you feel like if folks can withstand that, they can withstand like a heavier band too. Like there's a house venue that's in Belchertown that started, when I was an undergrad. So that's like
mhm.
over 10 years ago at this point. They're still going strong, which is like really wild. And, I don't know how that house is still standing, but they still are. And
Yeah.
then yeah, like Holyoke and Westfield has some like heavier clubs and bars that like my old band has played at. I think with Sleeperwave back in the day.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, Evan. Do you know
fun
any more?
times. Yeah, I feel like the very short answer is like no, just in the sense that there's not, venues you like singularly associate with heavy music or
Hmm.
even other kinds of music in general. It is very kind of free form. I think it's a lot more down to just, who is the individual booking it. And I think people do have diverse tastes. I think mixed bills are cool, and to like even the show that I booked with a friend, from a friend's band from New York City that we played at a place called the Marigold Theater in East Hampton, Mass, which is kind of there's a stage, they have a bar, it's a little bit more of an established venue. I think certainly having heavier shows like that there was not the norm for them, but it was cool. I think that the sound guy I remember was had maybe done some stuff I think with RPM Fest, which is
Yeah.
maybe the single the big heavy metal camping festival. I guess that
Hmm.
I would say in terms of Western Mass, yeah, in the heavy scene, that is definitely the
Hmm.
biggest thing that comes to mind. So it was cool. We booked. It wasn't all heavy bands. My friend's band is sort of like uh, pop punky sort of emo stuff. And we were just like, hey, we're friends, so let's just book it. And it was great. So yeah, lots of, I mean, it's cool. I think heavy bands are accepted. Non-heavy bands are even, maybe more popular, but we'll happily play with heavy bands. And yeah, there's always RPM Fest. And I guess I'll shout
Yeah.
out
Hmm.
Promoter Head booking as well, which is
Yeah, they do it.
one of
Yeah.
a very, very great name. And we could, just putting on events like that around here. So there's more
It's a
than you might
lot.
think.
Yeah. It's a lot of mixed bills, I would say.
Hmm.
Like usually, like at least like in with Show Horses, the old metal band I was in, it was like we'd be kind of often the only heavy band on a bill, and it worked. It was interesting, but maybe not sustainable. So
Yeah, how can I forget about RPM Fest? Because it's literally happening this week.
Oh yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I'm not able to go due to work is kind of the big one for me.
Yeah.
But um, it's also just previous commitments, logistics, all that. But it doesn't mean I can escape hearing about it. And it's great they can get like some really legit names on there. They got
Oh, for sure.
Conan and
yeah,
Horrendous.
yeah.
Like that's like I was like punching drywall once I realized I couldn't go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Bongzilla and Weed Eater last year, I think, or the
Yeah.
last 2 years or something. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also not able to go this year, but Ancient Death from Boston
Yeah.
playing some really sick proggy shit is hopping
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I saw them. I was fortunate enough to see them live in New Hampshire earlier this month. And their live set is pretty great.
Oh, hell yeah.
To make you feel just a little worse about missing it.
Yeah, I feel like any metal festival you really have to appreciate and cherish to some extent. in the U.S. I mean, Maryland Death Fest is kind of the biggest one. I'm sure there's a couple others as well that can come to mind. But yeah, just being more of a niche scene and genre. I'm always jealous of the fest happening in Europe and other places like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day I'll get to attend something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to just have that in your backyard and yeah, the camping side of it too is fun and interesting, and just all the different events and things they have going on. So I'm somewhat of a novice camper, but for RPM Fest, I definitely make an exception.
We'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll do it next year.
yeah, the camping thing is like it's what dissuaded me, and maybe some of it is just that like I've never been camping. I'm
You're
a
right,
coward.
yeah.
But I think it's also like um I personally would like I personally would not camp alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems like a bridge too far. Like I'll go into the city alone. Being out in the woods solo in a tent, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if
That's
you're
not
surrounded by
much
other
water.
people, there's just like I can't get over the mental hurdle.
Oh yeah. No, I'm there's absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Evan and I went camping with some friends this summer and I bailed at 9 p.m. So you
Yeah.
made it through the night though,
I
Evan.
did
You
have
did it,
fun.
yeah.
I might be a camper yet. Yeah, I'd love to go some more. I think fall will be good weather for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were lucky it wasn't too hot or anything, but yeah, there's lots of ways you can stuff something out of your control can make your trip very difficult if you're camping. So
Yeah.
you do need to just trust and yeah, have a good group as well. Theo, to your point. Yeah,
There's
solo
a there's
camping
a
is
there's a solo expedition in your future, Evan. You can be the first one to of our friends to do it.
yeah,
We
maybe
would all we'd all like really look up to you. It'd be awesome.
yes.
You'd be Hexrot's bravest boy.
So much
Yeah.
competition. I mean, Will's
Yeah.
pretty brave too.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah, going to bed. I'm a nervous wreck if it's like 10:30. Yeah. Hexrot's bravest boy. That's great.
Yeah. Um, but on the Western Mass subject, what are your favorite bands that are from this area?
Oh, wow. Yeah, Evan, why don't you
Yeah,
you got
because
some on your back
because
pocket,
I
man.
talk a lot about Boston bands. I almost never touch on what's west of Worcester.
Yeah, totally. I'll approach it from two different lenses. First is just like historically. So, yeah, I kind of alluded to it before, but in the heavy music scene more broadly, Amherst, Massachusetts is kind of a famous town
Hmm.
from the screamo genre, as you may or may not be aware. So like Orchid, being the big band, and like Will Killingsworth, the guitar player, runs his recording studio. So I've recorded there a few times. Um, my personal, he's been in a ton of punk and hardcore sort of bands. I have to shout out Ampere as kind of a screamo band that's, um, I guess, just feels very chaotic and but also very technical and deliberate in a way that not a lot of other stuff from that genre feels to me. So and a lot of those people in that band are still
Hmm.
playing in other projects and things. So screamo lineage aside, bands that are going on today, there's still some stuff that's living in that sort of sphere of influence. I Have No Mouth is a really awesome kind of screamo band. Um, Hazu is awesome sort of post metal, I guess, sort of project. It's I was kind of fortunate to kind of lay down some vocals for their new album that should be coming out at the end of the year. Yeah, we're doing really kind of ambitious and longer form sort of songwriting in a way that I think is really cool. Um, we have Chained at the Bottom of the Ocean, who you're probably aware of, huge sludge,
Hmm.
kind of titans, from Springfield area. And, we've played either jamming with directly or, played shows with the folks in that band for going back on many, many years now. Very, excited for them and all the success they're getting. Just being so fucking crushingly heavy is great. I'll pause there because there's certainly more that I'm not mentioning, but those are the
Yeah.
ones that came
Yeah.
immediately to
My
mind.
one comment, I did not know that Orchid was from Amherst.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
great. So
I
hey.
yeah,
I legit
there you
thought
go.
they're from like New Jersey or the Midwest.
Yeah,
Like
they
I
had
just
that Hampshire
never.
College lineage. So,
That's actually really
and I guess
wild to me.
shit, while we're talking about Hampshire, I mean Toby Driver,
Hmm.
Theodot Maudlin of the Well. I saw Toby play there in like 20. I was like in freshman in college or something. It was incredible.
Was that Hampshire Halloween that or spring? Yeah, I think
Uh, Maybe actually, I think
it
it
might have
was. I
been.
think you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you might have been there
yeah.
too.
I think you
Yeah.
might have been there. Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, Hampshire. I mean, One O Tricks Point Never from electronic music
yeah.
also. So yeah,
Doing
there's
all
some
the Safdie
awesome
Brothers
lineage.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, totally. So all good stuff, whether it's heavy or not.
yeah. Well, and Theo, you're wearing is that a Have a Nice Life shirt? Or isn't?
Yeah, I did forget that they were somewhat based out in Amherst, or
Oh,
like
Wasn't I think
they're
wasn't
they're UMass alums or
Yeah,
something.
I think Dan recorded Deaf Consciousness in a UMass dorm or
oh,
something.
Really?
okay. See,
Or
that
so
is what I
the
didn't know.
I
so
didn't
the
know that.
myth
I actually didn't know
says.
that. I didn't know they. I think I knew that Dan and Tim like met while going to college in
Oh,
the
maybe that's
area.
it. Maybe I'm just adding to the myth.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are they are technically a Central Mass band because Tim lives like 2 towns away from me.
Yeah, he's
Nice.
in Lunenburg, right?
Yeah,
Or,
that's maybe
yeah.
maybe it's 3 towns. I'm
Yeah.
bad. I'd have to like look at the borders and see how much I
Yeah.
could like see how I could draw that line, but
Yeah.
um that's like I always just thought of them as like a Connecticut band because they
Yeah.
have it's basically Dan lives in Connecticut and they have the quick one for the Eternal Worm Devours Connecticut.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
Connecticut,
okay.
yeah.
But I did see them out in Amherst earlier this
Oh, right.
year.
Yeah, they
Oh,
played
you
at
were
the
at the
Drake.
did you go to the Drake?
Yeah, I went to the Thursday
Oh,
show.
nice. Nice.
Um,
How was it?
it was incredible. I've seen them live 3 times now. It
Oh,
was their
Oh yeah.
second best performance.
okay.
Very cool.
Because it's hard to beat the first, which was at the long lost Great Scott in Boston. It was very
Yeah.
easy to beat their Paradise show, which, in hindsight was not good.
Yeah.
Not their
What year
fault.
was the Great Scott Show?
Oh, 2019.
Oh, word. Okay.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was good. You did remind me, like when you were talking about like how college oriented the scene is. That was a young crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like they had a
Yeah.
lot of energy, which I really liked.
Yeah.
And
That's good.
like
I'm glad they came out for it. That's
yeah, and generally
awesome.
they're like everyone in the crowd was really nice. Like sometimes you see a young crowd and you think this is going to be the worst night of my life. But all the Amherst kids were super nice, like
Good.
energetic without being absolute assholes. Like
Yeah, there's that line of self-awareness you need, or
yeah.
just that
Yeah.
level of getting into it, but being conscious of everybody else. So I'm glad the town came out and that was
Yeah.
Yeah,
We represented well.
and the Drake is it's a very nice venue.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to a few shows there. It's lovely. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty new, like 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
new.
relatively new.
Really?
It used to be
Yeah.
a bar up there. They sort of
Yeah.
it was like a 2-level bar, so they took the top level and they've sort of restructured it a bit. And I think just having something in downtown Amherst, there was not really. I mean, I remember going to some cool like house venues and things, but there was never
Yeah.
really like serious music venues there. And they I don't necessarily go there all the time because I think it's a pretty diverse set of just audience that they're catering towards, and
Hmm.
it's I don't know like world music and indie and jazz and all this sorts of stuff. Like I think I went to see like Lightning Bolt there that I remember being a really fun
Oh, hell
show in
yeah.
terms of like more like kind
Hmm.
of energetic or sort of heavier stuff. And yeah, I've been to some cool other ones too. But it's just great to have it there and
Yeah.
be kind of supported by the town and put on
Yeah.
some really cool shows as well, like
Yeah.
Have a Nice Life.
Yeah, you have to, and just to answer a question for me, at least like 10 years ago, there was a theater in Northampton that would sometimes get really good shows. I know Explosions in the Sky played there,
Yeah. The
and
Iron
I
Horse?
really wanted to
Is
get.
that
It might be that. I just remember it
Iron
was.
Horse and Pearl
Mhm.
Street were
I just remember
two
it was close to Jake's,
Oh, that's
the brunch spot.
yeah, what is that old with like the
Oh,
stadium seating? Like
I don't know if
really
it's. I just
old.
wanted to know if it was still open or not
I
because
don't know.
I
I
thought
saw the
I just
magnetic
thought it was.
fields there like a few years ago and
Yeah, I
it
just
was in
thought it
rough
was.
shape.
I just thought it was cool that Explosions in the Sky played there.
I actually saw
Yeah.
Explosions play in Northampton, so it could be this very show that we're referencing.
It could
When I saw
be.
them, it was at the Academy of Music, which is yeah, it's like a big venue. There's
Hmm.
seating. Tickets are a little more expensive. It's sort of double level. There's a balcony and stuff. Been to a lot of good shows there. Yeah, more like I don't know, like jazz and I guess I saw Godspeed You Black Emperor play there too on the post rock side. Yeah, some jazz guitarists and other things of that nature. Yeah, that are bigger. Yeah, yeah. Northampton has had an interesting. That would be sort of the one place that touring bands would come through for the most
Hmm.
part in Western Mass.
Yeah.
I'm driving to Boston like pretty frequently at this point to go see music, just because that's how it goes. But yeah, there's kind of we don't have to get into the full details of it, but there's some controversy with the guy who owned a bunch of the venues, so they closed down for
Yeah.
quite a while. That certainly impacted the scene a bit. I think they're starting to open up, but I haven't
Yeah.
personally seen any like really compelling shows that are coming through yet. In terms of like regional or national touring acts, but that was good to. I certainly saw some really memorable and I don't know, formative shows in Northampton, when I kind of just moved to this area in high school. So,
Hmm.
One of
yeah.
the like, do you know kind of how like I think something that brought the mismanagement of Pearl Street and Iron Horse, which you were referencing, one of the people that like made it get into the news sphere, like there are all these allegations of like theft and other types of mismanagement, and then there was footage of like maybe I don't know this like 5 to 10 years ago of Vanessa Carlton playing at, like the Iron Horse. And on stage, she's like, I need to borrow a sweater. It's so fucking cold in here. And then she goes into the green room and takes all these pictures of like this disgusting,
Oh,
like
geez.
mold-filled green room. And like, she's like, how is this like possible?
Man, I
So
didn't know that.
we can thank Vanessa Carlton for like really bringing these matters to the public eye. So it's just a very weird little, myth behind it, I guess. So
That's actually some crazy lore. I can't
yeah,
like.
Yeah.
yeah. God bless Vanessa Carlton.
Yeah. Um, this is a little more west of you, but like, does stuff go on in Springfield?
Yeah,
Huh? Are
Springfield.
there like shows in Springfield?
I mean, there's
That's
a
yeah.
symphony hall sort of thing there, so I guess they'd have
Yeah.
like classical performances. I think I saw a really great pianist play some Rachmaninoff there when I was, in like high school. It was great.
Yeah.
I was supposed to see King Crimson at that same, or no, excuse me, I did see King Crimson there because it got rained out. It was supposed to be at this outdoor venue. Aside from those two instances, I don't really think about. I mean, Springfield has some interesting history. It's not. I don't know. It's not a great town these days, but
Oh.
there's some like metalcore bands that are from
Hmm.
there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From like, I think Killswitch Engage is from at least Springfield, like metro area. I think All the
Oh
Remains might
really?
be. Yeah, so there's some interesting
Fascinating.
lineage of heavy music there. I want to say there's some other kind of like shitty band,
Yeah.
maybe like
I,
Stained or something that also came from Springfield. But these days, yeah, I wouldn't say, yeah, nothing
yeah.
really comes to mind aside from, these sort of like I said, more classical sort of events and things that
Yes.
are at the Symphony Hall.
Stained is from Springfield.
Okay, yeah,
That's so
That
funny.
just shows that
I
the
didn't know
city needs
that.
some help.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
little
I have nothing truly against Killswitch Engage.
I
I'm
mean,
like
it's
a
fine.
giant fan, but I like for Killswitch Engage.
That's
I'm
really funny.
really like I respect their place in Massachusetts metal.
Oh
Totally,
yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, same with all that remains. But Stained is
They're a stain on
yeah.
the music
Springfield
scene, if you
legends,
will.
man. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
I forgot to I
yeah,
forgot
it's
to
great.
ask Will if he has any favorite Western mass
Oh,
bands
Western.
to
Oh,
I
add
right.
to
mean,
the
like the big, the folks that like, the biggest Western mass bands, I always think of like Dinosaur Jr.
Oh yeah,
And like,
shit.
you see Jay Mascis all the time. You just see this like guitar god with the long white hair and
Mhm.
definitely would never say hi. But I'll like bike by him on the bike path all the time,
Oh
and
my
that's kind of
God.
funny. Yeah, and then
That's
Sonic
like
Youth, like I know like Kim Gordon lives out there and whatnot. I mean, but oh, there, this band, Mobius Band, was like my favorite band in like middle school, and they're like sort of a progressive electronic, like very interesting, jazzy too. And yeah, they were from out in Western Mass, and I got to see them a couple of times out here, so that was really cool. But in terms of bands that are playing now, like this band Fred Cracklin is definitely one of my favorites. That's Adam Bossy. It's a two-piece, Adam Bossy on guitar and Max Goldstein drumming, and it's just two of the better musicians I've ever seen, just at the top of their game. Just really like noise rock, like just super technical, noisy, experimental, boundary pushing stuff. They actually opened for Lightning Bolt at that show, right, Evan? I think
Yeah,
like a pretty like match
they
made in heaven.
did.
So they're definitely the band that I'm like most intrigued by. Adam taught guitar back when I was a guitar student at GCC, Greenfield Community College, like 15 years ago or something. And so it's really fun to kind of cross paths with him every couple of years and just see someone who is one of the best guitarists I've seen really, at the top of his game. It's really humbling. It's really exciting to see. And then, yeah, Space Camp we played with. They're like really heavy, almost like Blood Brothers sounding, three-piece. Max also drums with them. And yeah, those are kind of the two
Yeah.
that I think most dialed into for
Yeah,
sure.
I forgot about Space Camp, and I don't forget about Sonic Youth, but I think like their actual like Western Mass roots I always forget about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm really glad they come from our state because I think it was like one of the first bands I really like could I really felt proud about sharing a home state with.
Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
I played a house show at Kim Gordon's house like 15, maybe like 12 years ago. She wasn't home.
Wasn't home.
I
You
played
just
in a
played at some house.
I don't know how it worked. It was like a party for her niece or something who just graduated nursing school, and is my brother and I played in like a stoner metal band, a performance art band called Fancy Boy. So we do these bits on stage while we played like stoner metal. And it was like I was in the basement and you just see all of this gear, and there's one guitar case that had like Mike Watt bass like labeled on it, like all that's like, stuff that's just like I don't know, the stories that those guitars and whatnot could tell would be, fascinating. So it's cool to say that I played that at her house. She has no idea that we ever set foot in there. So yeah, just kind of a little fun tidbit.
That's crazy. But the reason you're on the show is that you have a new album coming out very soon. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh boy, it has been. I mean, we were in the studio, I think, almost 2 years exactly to the week to start
I think for
tracking.
the initial tracking, yeah, it was in August of
Yeah.
2023. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it kind of, it all both the EP, the Gloomrod EP and then Formless Ruin of Oblivion, like it all starts just with Evan and I in the practice space that we rent, and it's just kind of is one continuous piece of music that then we have to sort of chop up into these weird subdivisions in order to get like a good live take in the studio. We went back to record with our original producer Andrew Odell at Ghost Hit Studios in Springfield, um, who is not a traditional. I think we're the only like metal band he's tracked, but he is like just a masterful engineer. And something about working with somebody who is not super steeped in metal lineage and tropes or whatnot, I think like actually works to our advantage and something that we're going to continue to pursue in the future. I mean, yeah, the process of recording was arduous. It was like 7 or 8 days and then multiple overdub days at like months after. And then Evan composed all of these like industrial and electronic parts that, came after all of that too. So yeah, I don't know if you want to say any more about that, Evan, because that stuff is like sort of what sets it apart, certainly from our original release too.
yeah. So, I mean, just adding on to what Will said, um, something you said kind of a little while ago was, we were sort of just figuring stuff out as we go with regards to this project, which is still somewhat true, but I think was especially true going further back. So, yeah, our first release, Gloomrot, it's pretty much just, we were trying to, it was like math rock in a
Hmm.
way that we weren't necessarily later. I think the guitar tones were a lot cleaner. I think from a performance standpoint, it wasn't quite as like tight as I was looking for. And I think it was like I had never done like growl vocals or like low vocals on any release. So we were just like going in, we were like, are the vocals even going to sound good? And I think we were like, okay, we think they sound all right. So all of that is just to say we did have a better idea of what we were trying to go for with this release. So we knew we wanted it to be heavier. We were being a little more deliberate with the songwriting, sort of trying to strip back some of this. I think still having these, so-called like sort of noodly guitar parts, like lots of single note stuff, but also I'm trying to work that into, more deliberate callbacks to, metal tropes and, just artists or styles that we were interested in. We did want to keep it, kind of, I think something we've done a lot, something we still try to do is just like link all the songs together. It's just sort of a fun little, I don't know, it's almost like an exercise in some sense, but I think hopefully the listener also, finds it fun too of just saying like, oh, wow, I didn't think this piece would go into this other one, but somehow there was this little thing that made it happen. So we tried to, keep that going. Build on it, like Will said, with, I think the nature of being a studio project is almost just, you can just have an arbitrary amount of time with it, basically. So once we had the sort of the master recordings of, us in the studio, which is like, two guitar tracks, bass, vocals, and drums, I was like, let me just try adding some layers onto this. I've been sort of producing electronic and ambient or drone sort of adjacent music on my own for a while. And I was like, I don't know, fuck it. Like, let's just see how it goes. And ended up kind of going a little bit more overboard with it than I expected. Had a couple dedicated, sections that were in there as well. And I think it was something cool. The purpose was, aside from the couple points where, that's all you're hearing, it's really meant to just complement, what we were already doing and, maybe accentuate dynamics or just add in little bits of ear candy, so to speak, or just, things like that. But that ended up, we didn't necessarily compose with those sections in mind. So, taking all that into what we're going into next, it's like, yeah, we still want to be heavier. We still want to have deliberate songwriting that sort of flows in this way. And, now we're also sort of consciously thinking of like, oh, here's where electronics could benefit the music sort of while we're writing it instead of just this thing that's sort of put on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. To hear like listening to Formless Ruin of Oblivion without the electronics makes it like just severely lacking. They create this sort of just bubbling tension that is omnipresent throughout the whole album. I mean, there's like screenshots of Evan's mixing and just like how many like the copious amount of tracks and stuff and like the and just like the absolute precision that you had when you were creating this. I mean, it's really, really impressive and just totally added to our album. I mean, there's these like soft textures, things that make it sound a bit more like tonal and digestible. And then this like really harsh industrial elements too. And so those two sort of working in tandem with each other, the fact that I think that they can work in tandem with each other when I hear it is like so fascinating. And I think also sort of encapsulates what we do with Hexrot, which is like we have these more melodic tonal sections that are sort of accentuated by sharp elements of dissonance and sort of like at times excessive dissonance too. And so sort of like have balancing that light and the dark and then how that's reflected through the electronic flourishes as well is just like, I think really fascinating and sort of speaks to the DNA of the project just in general. So.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that when I listened to it. One, it was a very good album. Especially someone who really likes that dissonant style of death metal. I think it's interesting that, you started off with like math rock, mathcore kind of stuff, and then decided to make dissonant death metal because it's a lineage I don't see that much in death metal. Because like even people want to do like experimental death metal or like, weird proggy avant-garde death metal. They think I want to be like Gorguts or I want to be like Demolich. And they're not, and like they're not I don't think any other bands, or at least none that I can think of, have like gone from the math rock side of things. And I can hear it a little, but like I enjoy math. I enjoy some math rock, so I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, thank you. I'm really glad you listened to it. That definitely means a lot. Yeah, it is. It is interesting to be in the full-fledged metal sphere now because I do not think of myself as like a quote unquote prototypical metal guitar player in the slightest. Like I studied jazz and I was also a bass player. So to then switch to guitar and be in this sort of death metal sphere is very odd. I personally speaking, like I certainly cannot, I'm not playing the way like Chuck or any of the great, death metal guitar players can play. So hopefully people hear the sort of math rock background and DNA of it, and that's something that's interesting, or maybe it makes it stand out a little bit. Also, there will be people who are sort of like pretty turned off by that notion too, and I think that's also kind of exciting too. Like, um, hopefully it's at least provocative, and that's at least the goal. And if that lands for people, great. If not, like that's cool too. So
Yeah, it's frankly like death metal and metal in general is kind of a humbling genre to be a part of because the just the base level of musicianship is generally just so high, especially if we're talking about getting into more progressive or obviously like technical spheres, then it's like, yeah, and that's like a ton of the stuff that I like to listen to as well. So trying to sort of enter into that, and have our own spin on it and maybe, recognizing, yeah, we don't have like the traditional metal chops in a way that like some other bands have, but I think we do bring this sort of like left field way of approaching the music and structural things that yeah, it's just trying to do our own thing, to do what comes natural to us, consistently try to improve and sort of lean into like some of the metal technique as much as we can, but also saying like, well, if we're not going to be playing like a tech death band, that's fine because we're not, we wouldn't even. I don't even listen to a ton of that stuff myself, and I like to sort of use the technicality in other ways, I suppose. But
yeah,
yeah, just to say that like I think there's room for a lot of perspectives, and regardless of if that gives us fans or loses us fans, I think we're just trying to make makes what comes together when Will and I are in a room playing music for like extended periods of time and thinking about it. So, and the
yeah,
fact that we have been able to get some support and especially be able to put it out on a label like Transcending Obscurity means a great deal. And it's just sort of going to show us, we're doing something in the right direction, and it's great motivation to continue developing our skill and technique and songwriting, and really try to just feel really proud and confident standing alongside such really good bands on that label and just in
yeah.
the metal scene in general. Because yeah, it's just like I said, yeah, dude, there's just so many great bands that are just really good at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll never be the most technical. And I think our technicality comes from composition and structure rather than like strictly chops. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That's a good way
and
to
just
put it. Yeah.
to lean into that is really fun. Like every measure that we play, it changes pretty much. Like which actually is something we're working on for the new.
Yeah, that's a
Maybe
valid
have it
criticism
change a
is,
little bit less.
reviews saying like this is just so,
It's a
it's
little
just
too
changing
much.
so much. There's nothing to grab
But
onto. So trying to
but
harness
that's
that balance.
yeah, and that's just like how you and I stay entertained, playing once or twice a week for the past 5 years.
Yeah,
Like
I don't
that's
know.
just
Yeah, it's
like
just
we gotta stay
doing what we
sane with
can.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, constantly writing new shit. It's great.
Yeah, when you said that like you studied jazz originally, the one comparable-ish, if you don't think about it too hard, band I could think of was Imperial Triumphant because like
Oh,
two-thirds of that
totally.
band are
Yeah,
just jazz musicians who
yeah,
are conscripted into it.
yeah,
And like I at least loosely follow like Kenny and Steve from Imperial Triumphant on social media, and yeah, they're just doing jazz like when
yeah,
they're like they take the masks off and they're like, enough of this bullshit. I'm going back to
yeah,
my jazz band.
yeah. You just saw one of their jazz pieces, right,
Yeah, that's
Evan?
actually
Yeah,
that's a funny point because yeah, I saw Kenny play with Pact, which is like his sort of a free improv group. This was very funny. This was in East Hampton, Mass, at a place called the Luthiers Co-op, which is like a bar with guitars on the wall. And I saw it through because I follow Kenny too because he's a fucking incredible drummer. And I saw that they were playing, and I was like, Luthiers, really? Like they were playing like, you know, I don't know. It just felt like sort of a very rare opportunity to have,
yeah,
musicians of that caliber playing at a venue that small. I mean, it was probably like 30 or 40 people cap or
Mhm.
something, and there's a bunch of
yeah,
people standing around. So yeah, it was great.
That's
and
wild.
totally, respect just being able to just be chameleons in that sort of musical
Yeah.
way, and yeah, and also be able to work those sort of influences and overt or not into a extreme metal context. Super cool.
And then isn't is it Von Staffy or Staffy the Defeated
Oh
Sanity
yeah,
guitarist is
yeah,
like a
yeah,
jazz guitar professor
yeah.
too.
From
So he
Defeated
has like
Sanity, yeah,
which
yeah,
is like
Vaughn,
I don't know how you like
which is yeah,
connecting
super
that to
cool,
issues. Yeah, he I mean
and
he's a
yeah,
masterful player.
just
So it's cool. Yeah, there's some backgrounds in jazz.
Yeah, one of my friends was like trying to get me to go to the Pact show in Providence.
oh yeah,
It was a random weeknight, and I'm like, I don't love Kenny Grahowski that much.
yeah. I mean, it
I saw
was.
him I saw him with Titan to Tachyons because they were on the Napalm Death Melvins tour.
Oh wow, cool.
Um,
Whoa,
they're like exact.
that's
It was a
sick.
sold out show at the Paradise in Boston. So like 900 people,
Wow.
approximately two Titan to Tachyons fans, which is me and like another friend of mine I was with. And like I knew the bouncer who was working there that night, and he's like, "Oh, do you know the second band coming up?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I said nothing else about it. And he like texted me 5 minutes in. Just to say, "What the fuck is this?" Because it's free jazz improv, but
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
it just sound like if unless you really want to hear that, it just sounds like nonsense.
Yeah.
It's a certain palette for sure. I can't say
Yeah,
that
I
mine
mean,
is
not
fully
something I'm always,
developed.
eager to put on either, but I think music like that in a live setting, you just sort of have to appreciate.
Hmm.
I think really technical music in general, some really technical stuff, I love and would listen to, week daily or weekly, but a lot of it does just sort of feel like, it's live, it's a primarily live experience, like for me personally, and I think that's fine. And for some people, they don't even want to, they don't want it, even if it's, presented in front of them and these incredible musicians, vibing off each other, which is also like fair. I mean, I can't really like, force you to appreciate free jazz, but that's
It's a
cool that
great
you
first
were
it's a
one of
great first
the
date,
few that could
Evan.
get it. So
Yeah. So I guess one of the questions is why did you change from like math rock to death metal? Like, was there anything deeper other than just like curiosity?
Oh, well, I think for me it was like getting the two-piece started with Evan. It's like, oh, he wants to play twice a week and is like we're both like rehearsed every time we meet. And so I will follow this man wherever the heck he wants to go. And so that was sort of like the initial thing, like trying to like we would both sort of separately go home and practice and write and be like, okay, we got to impress the other person and like come to practice like really, which is adorable, right? I think for me too, like I probably like half of what I listen to is metal. So like in terms of being in a death metal band, I don't listen to a ton of metal music in general. There's a lot of other genres that I do listen to. And I think metal just presents itself, especially, this like progressive death metal, avant-garde death metal stuff that we're doing. It presents itself as this like perfect template to kind of do whatever we want, something that really keeps our attention and like pushes boundaries. And there's a lot of times when we'll be writing something and it's like, oh, can we do this? Is this like acceptable? And to filter that through the lens of like, we're going to kind of do whatever we want and worry about it after is really, really exciting to me. It's, like I'm a big movie guy. So the thought of like, horror films being this great exploration to push boundaries and see things and experience things that like I haven't seen or felt before is really exciting. And I feel like metal provides sort of the same outlet for me.
yeah, and I'll just briefly add on to yeah, I mean, I've been listening to extreme metal since really like since middle school, and it's always been I think also like Will, I listen to lots and lots of other stuff. I wouldn't even say, metal's primarily what I listen to by any means, but I do listen to quite a bit of it, and have listened to it for so long that it's just it kind of just scratches an itch that nothing else does, and the way that it's so intense but also so cerebral at times too, of just sort of mixing like just almost like two opposite ends of the spectrum of just raw, just power and, something that makes you want to move and groove to it. But at the same time, it's so complicated and there's just so much that goes into actually not only composing it, but also actually performing it. So it's a space, I knew I would want to be in. And, being like primarily a drummer for me is, you're kind of limited by like drummers and guitar players need each other. And so as the drummer, I listen to so much stuff. I'd be open to playing pretty much, if someone good is like, hey, you want to play so and so genre, probably be like, yeah, whatever, So that's how, so basically you just sort of end up in situations based on who you know. And so knowing that Will was getting into metal and was, a really amazing guitar player, it just felt like, well, now's the time. Haven't been in a metal band yet. It's going to be there's gonna it's it, I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into at that time, and what I'm still sort of dealing with, I guess, just in terms of trying to live up to that vision, of playing like in a really good death metal band. I think that's something we're still chasing,
Yeah.
but it just felt like this is the apex of like ways of expressing yourself in a band in some sense, just because we were so into metal and wanting to be a part of that ourselves. So it just kind of worked
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you are officially a death metal band, could either of you, could both of you name a death metal band you think the audience should check out?
Ooh,
Oh
well,
boy.
that's a
Yeah,
good one.
Evan, you go. You
That's a
have a
good
much
one.
more big roster. Mine are like obvious.
Yeah. So I'll try to, I think this would be a good pick. Yeah. So, I mean, love lots of different kinds of metal. The one that I've been into the most recently is brutal death metal, which is, I think, the stuff I was saying before about sort of, both ends of the coin and like this sort of just very almost like sort of caveman, like head bangy sort of thing, also mixed with really intricate songwriting and performances. I think is kind of exemplified most by a lot of the brutal stuff. So the band I'm going to shout out is called Cerebral Fusion, brutal death metal from Spain. Um, I think they're slight. I mean, I don't think any BDM band is like that well known, but they're like slightly more underground because I could say Defeated Sanity or something, but like more people
Yeah.
have heard of
Mhm.
that. So I just think what they're doing is like, to me, it's the platonic ideal of that genre. I think
Mhm.
their last three albums that they've done are pretty much as good as it gets in my eyes. And so, yeah, check them out.
Yeah.
I know not everyone is into stuff that's that extreme, but if you want to give it a try, and I think that's a good one to be looking into.
Yeah. You've sent me them. I've definitely partaken. That's awesome. I mean, like my like death metal influences are like they've already been said. Like Death, Symbolic, and Human are like my two favorite albums of all time. Hidden History of the Human Race by Blood Incantation obviously was a huge
Mhm.
influence on From the
Yeah.
Serene of Oblivion. These are like super obvious, right? And then obviously Gorguts, right? Like
Mhm.
Colin
Yeah,
Marston
of course.
mastered our album, and he's in Gorguts. He's the bass player and then records their stuff and records Defeated Sanity, right? I think.
Yeah,
Like Luke
last
LeMay is
couple.
like I love his. I mean, he is like one of the great metal composers and musicians. I mean, I don't know if I can wax poetic enough about him and his sort of just his approach to music in general. It's incredibly like it's a humble way to play really technical music. And I'm just so impressed by that. But the band I'm going to shout out is actually not death metal. It's like Funeral Doom, and this band Gloombound. They put out an EP. I don't know, like I think you sent it to me like 2 years ago,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
good. It
a
was
little
good.
while
And then
ago.
they just last week put out their full length, and it's one of the best albums I've heard. I know Headbanger Reviews just mentioned them too. They don't have nearly enough of a following, but that album I was like really impressed with. That really blew my mind. Um, it's elements that I didn't think I would love or be drawn to nearly as much. And then also Two Mold was a big like just recent discovery too. Their latest album it was like I think a year or two ago. It's a good one for me.
No, I mean, like even with the obvious picks, like, I love to mold.
Yeah,
I mean, I
Absolutely.
think like some of the hype has died down since it's been like 2 years since they've had an album.
yeah.
but the Tomb Mold hype is still real in my heart. But I'm gonna check
Hell
out
yeah.
Gloombound because this is a very pro-funeral doom podcast.
Okay, hell yeah. It's
I need to
like,
listen to it still too. So
they're from Norway.
I'll be
I was just
checking it
listening
out.
to it. I was chatting with a friend on Insta about it, and it's just like, again, it's not like the description of it is not necessarily something I'd be super into, and it just works. I don't know. It's like it works. I'm really impressed by it. Yeah, hell yeah, definitely, folks should check them out. It's really fantastic. They're gonna blow up.
Yeah, but by funeral doom standards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So after the album comes out, what future plans do you have?
Well, we're hard at work at our third album already, so
Really?
oh yeah, we're like, we've been piecing together riffs for the past year and a half, 2 years since we recorded Formless Ruin. In that time, I had a kid, so kind of like, we took some time off. Evan was very understanding and brought my wife and I dinner multiple times, which was
my
great.
God.
Of course.
But yeah, we're hard at work. Who knows what it's going to look like and sound like, but it's going to just keep progressing in the direction we're in. So I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about it, Evan?
Yeah, definitely keep writing. Hopefully balance that more with live performance like we were talking about before. Just because it's hype. We want to play with like some of our friends' bands and have people come out and see us. It's sort of two different modes for us of like writing mode and then performing, or like live performance mode rather, with like adding vocals and stuff and thinking about the set differently. And it does take us generally, because we try to play once a week, and it can take sometimes multiple months to write, one piece of music, which is, one song or whatever, which is, I don't know, could be like 5 minutes long and take that long. So, it's pretty slow moving and we're usually in that sort of creative mindset, but it's fun to, just tighten up and just, rehearse the same set over and over and get ready for a live performance. So definitely at least a couple shows before the end of the year. Probably mostly in Western Mass, but we'd love to play Boston again. We'd love to play Providence. We have a couple various connections in those areas. So we'll sort of see how it pans out, but definitely just write, play, and try to, keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, aim for Boston, end up in Connecticut.
All right. Yeah. Consider it done. Theo, you heard a little sneak peek to the new album when you saw us. That was some stuff that we'll
that's right, actually.
Yeah, I had no idea what to expect after seeing the set because I walked away from it thinking this is the token math rock set of the night.
There you go. Yeah, something like that.
We got some weird comps after that. I got Alice in Chains, which is a comp. I'll take it. There's some other stuff. We get compared to bands I've never listened to. Like we got compared to Tool recently, and I've never listened to them.
That's a crazy thing to say.
Don't think I understand
Tool, but
I don't think I know.
I
think we're the only three millennials don't really give a damn about Tool. Because I think at most my brother was a Tool fan, and like I didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Like even though I was listening to other prog stuff, I'm like, I didn't get it. I didn't like. My brother's fine, but I didn't like a lot of Tool fans. I have nothing against the average millennial man.
Yeah. I think it's okay if you do.
It's okay too, but like you can have your bacon and not knowing narwhals were a real animal and your Black Dahlia.
Narwhal denial is a thing?
That was a thing like in 2010 or something.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy.
You have your Black Dahlia murder.
Hell
You're a monomarth. I have nothing against either of those. Like Twilight of Thunder God is like, a peak album.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, I'll claim myself as a Tool fan as well. For what it's worth. At least historically. So but yeah, it is funny to hear when someone, I don't personally see the Tool comparison myself, but it's funny that Will has just literally like doesn't know them at all.
I have a very weird musical background. It doesn't add up. So when people ask me about like metal bands, I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like especially the Tool comps that are there. And
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I could just list off a few random sludge bands.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked
I could,
about
like,
that. Yeah.
I'll drop like the one mathcore band I'm a big fan of, which is Rollo Tomasi.
Oh, that's a very good deep cut pick. Yeah, I was big into
Oh,
them in kind of like high school-ish times, long ago, like 2009 or whatever, when they were dropping their first few albums. Yeah, that's a sick band. So
They are sick.
Thanks again to Evan and Will for coming on the show. Formless Ruin of Oblivion is out now. I say listen to it and buy a shirt so you can wear it to the Ulcerate show this fall and cause a dissonant death metal criticality. Or at least to Zoth and the Spiral Continuum in September. Talk about another Boston death metal duo that really tickles my ears. They actually were the openers for that same basement show. Good things came out of that dungeon. But alas, Spiral Continuum is for another episode. Until then, I'm Theo Morgan, and have a good night.
Cool. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It's fun
to
fun to just chat. Our last interview was like a written thing that we probably spent way too much time wordsmithing and stuff. So it's fun to and probably comes off as pretentious to some extent. So we're happy to pull the veil away just a little bit, and we're just
we're figuring out who we are.
I mean, it's quite a bit off the cuff for me as well as for you. Like, I write down questions, but you have to adapt somewhat when you're doing a live interview.
Sure.
Like, even if you're the interviewer, there's stuff that's going to come up that's going to make you think,
Yeah, either dig into this more or go completely in the opposite direction of that. And hopefully we didn't give you any of those latter ones.
No, I think I think this will be yet another banger.
Oh yeah, nothing but.
Yeah, we're so charismatic, It's so hard to be burdened with such charisma, Evan and I. That's why if you notice, we didn't speak when we played at the at the Boston show.
Yeah,
we kind of did. We're
Let
shy.
the music speak for itself, or
exactly.
something like that.
They take my social awkwardness as just like, I guess, being dialed in or pumped up or something. So it's a good ruse. So
no, Will's the friendly one of the band too. So I'm more of the.
You're the wait. What were you? You were the Hexrot best boy? No, what was it that you? Bravest boy.
Bravest boy.
Bravest boy.
He's gonna go camping, but you're actually gonna answer the phone.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I have like a social media phobia to some extent, so Will's been great in actually making sure we post about stuff, which would give me like way too many thoughts. To do that.
Evan, how many story drafts do you have just sitting there that have been left?
Well, it's more. That's for another time. But yeah, there's lots of ideas for stories that don't make it, which probably more often than not is the right choice. Because you got to keep them. You have to keep the mysterious vibe on social media. Because if you share too much, people are gonna really know who you are, and that's kind of scary. So you don't want to do that.
It's not just scary; it's cringe.
Well, okay, yeah, and then there's the other dynamic that you're always self-judging.
I say this sound is very, very open and very cringe.
Well, I wish I could embrace that more. That's part of my journey. Yeah, so I respect it a lot. Yeah, what you're doing with the podcast is awesome, and it's all stupid mental bullshit anyway. That it's like chains you put on yourself when you're doing thinking in that way. So.
Theo, your meme stories, whatever, however you call it, they keep me going, man. They crack me up.
I do at least like making people laugh.
It gets me.
But when I started this podcast, I started off way too seriously, and I realized why am I going out of character? It's more work to be out of character than it is to be in character.
Out of character. Oh man, that's good. I'll dive back into the archives and compare it to the free flowing, genial nature that we have now.
The interviews have always been very unhinged, though.
Hell yeah. And they always end up talking about memes too. I don't know, just they always end up that way. What can you say?
Yeah.